Hello and welcome, Angelinos. We thank you for tuning in to yet another brilliant episode of the Galaxy Guy podcast, hosted by Chris Maldonado, a show made by loyal Galaxy fans for loyal Galaxy fans who bleed blue, white and gold. So join us as we talk about the ins and outs, as well as the ups and downs of your favorite team, the one and only, the Los Angeles Galaxy.
Hola y bienvenidos, Angelinos. Welcome back, Galaxy fans, to the Galaxy Guy podcast. Como siempre, as always, I'm your host, Chris Maldonado, and today we are bringing you a midweek show. Yes, you heard that right. A midweek pregame show in anticipation of the very first El Traffico of the season between our LA Galaxy and LAFC at the Dignity Health Sports Park this Saturday. I really don't have to say it, but these games always create a Galaxy-sized amount of hype and buzz. They're always good. It's always insane for some reason. And to better understand the matchup, we are going to get all of you fans out there up to speed on what to expect for this game by providing you with some analysis, the strengths and weaknesses of each team. To help me do all of that, with me tonight, I have two insiders who know both teams inside and out. Most of you out there will recognize these men. One of them is local LA soccer reporter Gio Garcia from LASoccerHub, who, as a member of the media, is extremely close to both LAFC and the LA Galaxy. The other is the ultimate MLS insider. Of course, I'm speaking about Eli Lesser, aka Mr. MLS, the host of This Week in MLS. So, guys, it's an absolute pleasure having both of you on here tonight to talk about the upcoming derby. Honestly, couldn't think of two better people to have on the show for this. How the heck are you guys doing tonight?
Dude, I feel great, man. It's exciting. It's El Traffico, right? It's a big weekend. It's a lot of emotions. I'm happy to talk about it here. I know we were watching the game last week, and so everything's leading up to this moment, right? Every day, every moment, there's a lot of news from both teams that we're going to hear tomorrow, but I'm here to help. Excited to talk about it with you and Eli.
Right on.
I have finals next week, and I cannot think about those because I just have chills right now for this Saturday. I am beyond excited for another edition of El Traffico. It's gonna be incredible.
Eli, you don't really need a college degree, man. You could always use a little more soccer, though, right?
No, you can never have too much. You know, a couple of weekends ago, I literally sat in bed from 1 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. No, yeah, 1 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. watching MLS nonstop, and it was the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with watching all that soccer, right? Just on the weekend and just enjoying it and watching every single team.
I honestly don't know how Eli does it. Dude, you're like up to date on every single team in the league. What is it, like 30 teams now? That's insane, man.
Yeah. If you include the incoming expansion teams from the next couple years, which I have been, I'm keeping up with Charlotte. I'm keeping up with St. Louis. I'm keeping up with everyone.
Oh, boy, I don't envy you, man. But listen, how excited are you for this matchup, Gio? How excited are you, man?
I'm really excited, man, because it's obviously there's still unknowns with Carlos Vela, but it's a new season for both teams. You got Chicharito, who's been killing it, surprising everybody how they came out the gates. Obviously, it was a tough loss against Seattle, and then the unknowns with LAFC, right? And is Carlos Vela going to play? They finally got Gio Garcia to play 90 minutes, and who's going to step up for them, and a lot of different things, but. I like because this rivalry has grown. We've had Zlatan versus Carlos Vela. Now it's going to be hopefully Chicharito versus Carlos Vela, the first edition. We didn't get it last year. And, the things that we've seen Carlos Vela do in the past and the things Chicharito, has done this season, it's exciting. And it's going to be right at Dignity Health Sports Park down there, home of the LA Galaxy. The only thing I wish they were wearing the green metallic jerseys because I felt that would have been right. But hey, I'm not the one to decide that. But I'm excited, man. We've been doing a lot of shows. We're doing a lot of build up to it. But it's an exciting time in MLS.
Now, Eli, I have to ask you the same question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for this matchup this weekend?
11. Easy. I mean, you mentioned it, Gio. This is the first time we could potentially be seeing Carlos Vela versus Chicharito, two bit larger than life figures in the Mexican soccer world in Southern California, a hub of a huge Hispanic population. This could be the biggest El Tráfico yet.
I definitely agree. It's like it's transcending the sport at this point, and it's drawing in so much attention from the Mexican fan base, from the Hispanic fan base, and like Eli said it, you have the two biggest. The last decade, these two guys have been arguably the two biggest soccer stars for the Mexican national team, right? So this is the ultimate clash. Hopefully we get to see both of them on the field for 90 minutes. I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit, but what do you guys say we talk about this game, huh? Let's get our game faces on and get into it. How about it?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. I'm excited to break down some analysis and the strengths or weaknesses of each team.
Right, let's do it. So first of all, we have to talk about the standings, right? So far, we are into
which
week
standings
4.
are we going with? Because I'm confused. MLS be throwing us off.
The power rankings, you mean, right?
Or the power rankings, yeah.
Are LAFC still in first place?
I don't know, man. If you ask MLS, I don't know. Sorry, I didn't. I was thinking. I've been when you said standings, I was thinking of rankings because I just can't get that out of my head.
No, look, win or lose, I'm sure LAFC is going to be in number 1 spot by next week, but we won't talk about that. I'm talking about the standings in the Western Conference, right? So we're into week 4 now, and the LAGalaxy and LAFC are neck to neck in the standings. I mean, both have 7 points, but the LAGalaxy is one spot above LAFC in that 5th spot in the West. LAFC, of course, in the 6th spot. I think the tiebreaker there is the goals scored, right? The LA Galaxy has scored 6 total goals, and they've conceded 7, whereas LAFC has scored 4, which is unusual for LAFC. They're usually a high-scoring team. They've only conceded twice, though, which I guess speaks volumes to their defense. But let me ask you, Eli, we'll start off with you. What has been your impression of the LA Galaxy so far across these 3 games?
Yeah, I believe the Galaxy are up 1 point over LAFC right now. I think it's 6-5.
Yeah.
But what I've seen from the Galaxy is a new look completely. I'm not just talking about the absolute heat that is the community kit. I'm talking about what Greg Vanney has put on the pitch, especially adjustments that are being made throughout the matches. You know, if his plan isn't working immediately at halftime, he is very quick to make the adjustments. And we saw that in both the Miami and the Red Bull match, which resulted in the Galaxy getting 3 points. I think there's a bit of a history with him and Seattle, with him facing off against them in the MLS Cup a few times, and he tried something a bit too risky and it didn't quite pay off. But hey, at least he's willing to do stuff like that, because Guillermo was silent all the time. I don't really know what his game plan was every match, so I gotta be impressed with what I'm seeing from the Galaxy so far, even though they're coming off a big loss.
Right on. Same question to you, Gio. You're close to the team. You're a member of the media. You attend the games in person. What has been your impression of the LA Galaxy this season so far? What's your impression of this team?
I think the biggest thing, what Eli we kind of talked about a little bit, but to me is a culture what Greg Vanney has done. Like, you know, just going into that game this past week and going in the preseason, I already felt the vibe was different. Like going to the preseason games of the LA Galaxy, how they played, how they moved, how they talked with each other. I saw it in the preseason, so I got a little glimpse of this. I was like, 15 minutes in, I'm like, this is a completely different team, you know? So I'm not so surprised of them having that early success. I am surprised of Chicharito, you know, having 5 goals in 3 games now. But I think the culture, what Greg Vanney has talked about to us in the media and bringing that in, and how quickly he's been able to implement that, you know, right? Because the LA guys come from one of the toughest, seasons in their history and how they perform. And Guillermo, like Eli was saying, didn't really necessarily feel like he had a plan. We didn't know what he was doing. But with Greg Vanney, we understand what he's willing to do, right? He's willing to scrap the plan, and go with the new one and adjustments, and we haven't seen that, I don't think, in the last 4 or 5 years from any LA Galaxy head coach. And that's the biggest thing. And then also the players talking about, like Jonah Dos Santos, I said this before, he said, hey, we're playing music in the locker room. It feels like a brotherhood since the whole time I've been here. I mean, even after the loss, Sasha Klesman was asked, he was like, what are your thoughts? Greg Vanny, it was along the lines like, him playing the formation, I believe. And he was like, hey, we're going to trust him. That's our leader. The words go a long way, and that culture ties into that. So that's the
really does. And it really does. And we talked about this the last time I was on your show, the second to last time I was on your show, Gio, the culture, right? You guys are talking about this culture that feels new for the LA Galaxy, the identity that the LA Galaxy had been missing for about half a decade, right? Since Bruce Arena left, this team was just devoid of any character, any identity. And I talked about this on your show the last time, is that it definitely feels like Greg Vanny brought that winning identity back to the LA Galaxy. Being an original, knowing what it's like to win cups. He's bringing the right staff. He's bringing in his own players. You can feel it. It's something that you can feel even in the preseason games. So pretty much we're all on the same page as far as the LA Galaxy and how that feels. Eli, let me ask you, what have you seen from LAFC so far this season? What is your impression?
We've seen a team with a lot of talent, but still missing their key pieces. And the losses of Vela and Rossi over the past weeks or so, I know Rossi played last week, have been evident. It's been harder for LAFC to score goals. They've definitely had to press higher, press harder than I've seen them in the past. I will say Corey Baird has been a standout for me at LAFC. He has been a hell of a signing for them so far. I believe he has 2 goals already, and he was someone who we knew the talent was always there, and he always had the effort. I just didn't think he was in the right situation. And when you're on a team with Rossi and Vela, like, it's a lot easier if you're an attacking player. And we've seen a lot of guys come in at LAFC who wouldn't get shots anywhere else and do very well. A guy like Danny Musovski, who's coming off the bench for them right now. And then also Edward Atuesta. He's proving to be probably the best offensive midfielder in the league. He had that incredible goal against the Sounders, the way he connects passes and also breaks up possessions of the other team. It's at an elite level, and it's only a matter of time before him and Rossi get sold out of here, because they are legit.
That definitely seems to be the buzz, right? That these guys are not long for LAFC. They're long for bigger and greater things in Europe. If MLS fantasy prices were any indication as to how good a player is, then Eduardo Atuesta would be the guy, right? Because his price is ridiculous. But Gio, about LAFC, right? You're very close to the team. You attend all their games as an accredited member of the media. You're close to the coaching staff and the players. You get to talk and interact. What has been your impression so far of this LAFC team in 2021?
I think the first thing comes to mind. I know we all know the talent's there, but when Carlos Vela went down the first game in the 20 minutes, right, it got difficult because they already didn't have Diego Rossi. Mm-hmm. So I would say the depth at first, because they got the dub against Austin. Corey Baird scored as well. And I think there was a lot of questions about Corey Baird. There was a lot of fans that weren't as excited, and I was more along the lines like, let's see what he can do before any type of criticism, because I see what you can do with other teams, but I like to base a player on what he's done today. What is he doing with this new club? What is he doing with this offense? So far, he has 2 goals in 3 games. He's the leading goal scorer for LAFC, if you can believe that. Obviously, we know Diego Rossi and Carlos Vela haven't been available, but if you tell me that, Corey Baird scored 2 goals in 3 games and impact, won one for them and tied another one for them, people probably wouldn't believe that. But I would also add, the players that Bob Bradley has been able to move around. Marco Farfan, I think he came over from the Portland Timbers. He's started at right back because Tristan Blackman hasn't been available because of health and safety protocols. So he started back-to-back games. We still need to see how the back line is going to look, right? We did see them get challenged a couple of times with the Seattle Sounders, or I should say a lot of times, but they didn't crack under that pressure, right?
Right.
And we know typically LAFC is typically good at home, and it was pretty solid performance for them against the Seattle Sounders. But when you look at the Houston Dynamo game that they just played,
that was a draw, right?
It was a draw, and a lot of fans were very upset, and they have the right to be very upset because, you know, you go into Houston, you expect to get 3 points. You have Gio Garcia, and they didn't play well. They weren't really sharp. You know, a lot of the times how the ball movement was moving. So Rossi didn't look so good, but I wouldn't, you know, put too much into that. Is Gio Garcia. He deserves to have a bad game or two. You know what I'm saying? And he's still getting back. First game back, he played 90 minutes. That's the best thing.
Sure.
But I think is the how these players are going to play collectively, right? Carlos Vela's back. We expect him to be back this game.
So on that note, Gio, you're going to talk about these players that are important to the team, right? That's the next topic that we're moving into. So hold that thought.
Don't mean to get ahead.
You guys have talked about some very talented players on both teams, right? I want to know from each one of you guys, I want to know which 3 key players on each team people need to watch for. Like 3 key players that are going to be difference makers in order to propel their team to a victory. What are the 3 key players to watch for that need to be impactful for LAFC, Eli, in your opinion?
LAFC, one, I'm gonna say Jesus Murillo, the center back. Okay. I'd like to see I need to see him take charge of that back line, which he has been able to do. But obviously against a guy like Chicharito, it's going to be where he can lock down or not. I'm going to try to do one defender, midfielder, and forward. In the midfield, sure. Definitely Edward Atuesta. I think he is arguably, I mean, with Vela out, but even if Vela's back in. But Atuesta is like arguably the most important piece for LAFC. And then up top, Carlos Vela for sure. We've only seen 20 minutes of him this season. And if he's playing and if Chicharito is playing, all eyes are going to be on those guys. So they're going to be expected to deliver. So it's all about whether they actually do or not.
Now, Gio, who are the 3 key players to watch for that absolutely need to be impactful in this game for LAFC?
You know, it's pretty much around the same, but I'll go a little different. You know, I'll go a little different to make it interesting. I feel like if we can expect, going along the lines of, so if we can expect what, you know, Carlos Vela can do and Diego Rossi can do, that's a given, right? We know what they can do. I'm gonna go with Corey Baird. If Corey Baird continues to do what he's doing, right, and he's being effective, the things that I've seen from him, you know, chasing balls back, going back on defense. Never saw that from Brian Rodriguez. Never saw the effort that Corey Baird's putting in, and, you know, willing his team to win sometimes. Yeah, I think against the Seattle Sounders was injured, but he's willing to do everything. He's willing to get scrappy for LAFC. You know, he has to do all the work that, you know, necessarily Carlos Vela isn't going to do, because we know Carlos Vela is a playmaker. He's a superstar, right?
Sure.
But, you know, if Corey Baird does that, I think a lot of attention is going to Carlos Vela and Diego Rossi, as it should be. But if you're not paying attention to Corey Baird, he can score. He can score goals from outside the 18. And I think if the LAGalaxy is not paying attention to him, they definitely should be, because he could be the difference maker if it's a 2-2 game or a 3-3 game, or, you know, we expect this to be a high scoring game. Corey Baird can come in and we know some of the challenges the Galaxy have had on the defensive end, and he can be the difference maker.
It's very interesting to me that you guys didn't mention all the designated players, right?
Well, you didn't let me finish my.
All right, go for it, man. Who's number 3?
I would say, well, number 2, I would say Eduardo Atuesta.
Oh, okay.
I would say number 2 is Eduardo Atuesta, obviously given. And I'll go different, because I will go different from Eli, because I would say Pablo Cisnegas. Pablo Cisnegas has had a solid performance these first 3 games. If he could come up with the big save against Chicharito. No, the goalkeeper.
The
Pablo
goalkeeper.
Cisnegas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So since Kenneth Vermeer left, I've seen him be a lot more confident.
That's right.
I've seen him, you know, command that goalkeeping position. He's looked really good. So if Pablo Cisnegas can have a big game, I know he's probably going to get scored on a couple of times, but he may just have to do one or two big saves, either denying Chicharito from a header or something like that. That could also be the difference maker there.
Right on. Okay. Fair enough. So we have some of the key players that people need to watch out for. Everything you guys said makes perfect sense. Who are the 3 key players that people need to watch for that need to be impactful in this game for the LA Galaxy? Eli, who are those 3 players in your honest opinion?
I really wanted to cheat and say the entire back line as one.
God knows that back line needs it.
But for real, I'm going to say as one of my players, whatever the center back pairing is, because LAFC is going to be the toughest task in MLS for the Galaxy back line. They're a team that constantly moves the ball. And like Gio said, all 3 of their starting attackers, they could shoot from anywhere, whether it's in the box, outside of the box. So Daniel Steres, Derek Williams, Nick DePuy, whoever's starting, they need to be able to communicate and be flexible with their movements. But another guy I'm going to mention is Sebastian Lletget, because he's coming back from his suspension here.
That's right.
A lot of expectations are going to be on him immediately because he is the big USMNT guy on the Galaxy, and he's been a key figure missing these past couple weeks. And then my third one, I'm not going to say Chicharito because I think it's obvious, like Chicharito, but I'm going to go Samuel Grandsir, the winger, because he's come in with a bit of a big expectation on him. I think a lot of Galaxy fans want him to be the new Romain Alessandrini from France, and we haven't quite seen him break out yet. I'm going to be patient with him just because he doesn't even know a word of English, as the broadcasters mentioned last match. So obviously there's going to be some communication issues. And it's also starting to make sense as to why the Galaxy are signing a bunch of French players, bring that culture in. But he has shown flashes of what we've seen him do in Europe. He's taken some interesting shots that I've seen him make in highlight reels, and he's starting to get more involved in the ball movement, up the flank and even cutting inside. So he's a player I'm going to look out for. And if anyone needs to step it up and have a big game, it's Grandsir for me.
I totally agree 100%. That's somebody who absolutely needs to show up for the LA Galaxy. It doesn't compute in my mind that a 24-year-old guy, is taking this long to get match fit. Where you take into you compare him with a 34-year-old, literally an entire decade older than him, like Victor Vasquez, who didn't play much in the last 2 years, comes into the league and just looks sharp. He looks ready to go. He looks match fit. He's out there giving assists, creating plays. He's just looked so dangerous, right? So it's, to me, it doesn't compute why Samuel Grandsir hasn't worked out yet, but it might be the language barrier. And you said it might be the reason why Vanny and his coaching staff is bringing on so many French players. I made that joke earlier on the Discord channel. I said, hey, we still need defenders. Someone should get Mike Ziani on the phone and see what he's doing, right?
No, please not.
I don't know if you guys saw that, but it's like we're all on the same Galaxy family Discord now. So a lot of funny stuff goes on there, but I agree. Samuel, somebody to watch for. Gio, now I have to ask you the exact same question. Who are your 3 key Galaxy players that need to show up big to be impactful in this game?
Yeah, no, I mean, they're almost going to be very similar. But one thing before I get into that, I think another thing, the reason why Victor Vasquez has had so much more success in Grandsir is because Vasquez has already played in the system. You know what I'm saying? And it's easier for him on that. But my three, it's kind of hard not to say that the whole back line because of what we've seen. They've given up 7 goals in 3 games, and I don't think you can put all 7 goals on Jonathan Bond. But yeah, it's going to come down to I think I'll say Araujo playing at the right back, and if he's able to contain, let's say, Diego Rossi or Carlos Vela for that sake or whatever, because we know he has that speed. I'll go different. I'll go with Araujo at the right back, helping being able to help the center backs so that they don't have to push up front, but I honestly feel like it's the whole back line for number one for me. Sure. Number two is I'm going to say Victor Vasquez. We know the type of passes he can do to Chicharito, and how in sync they're looking. They're getting better and better. I just want him to have another game like that because he's going to face another tough midfield lineup against LAFC, Latif Blessing, Eduardo Tuesta, Mark Anthony Kay. So it's going to get tough there. And, hopefully he's going to be able to play what time he got subbed up, 60th, 70th minute. So we're going to have to see the best of him in the first game. And also I'm going to have to go with Grand Sir as well. I know not a lot of fans are as excited for him, but I feel like it's a little bit of the language barrier, but it's also him learning a new system, right? And getting adjusted to a new life out here. And Sasha Klesman's the only one that knows French, and he's learning that. So I wouldn't be too harsh on him. I don't feel like, he's been playing like terrible, but obviously we're not getting what we necessarily expected right away. And I think with him, you're just gonna have to be a lot more patient because the speed is there. It's just gonna take a little bit more time for him to get there.
Right on. Okay, so that's your three. Okay, and I feel like you won't find many Galaxy fans out there who would disagree that Samuel Grandsir needs to show up because listen, Chicharito can't do it all himself, right? We eventually need other people to be scoring goals, and it definitely has to be Grandsir. It has to be one of them. We still won't see Kevin Cabral, unfortunately, for this game. It was reported just today that he's actually in the States now. He's initiating his quarantine, so definitely won't make it for this game. Fingers crossed he'll be available for the Austin game the following week. So, we'll keep an eye out for that. But moving on to still talking about the LA Galaxy, what would you guys say, in your expert opinions, what are the strengths of this LA Galaxy team going into this match? If you want to get us started on that, Eli, what would you say?
I might need to go second on this one. I'm coming up with it because I haven't quite figured out I haven't figured out the Galaxy yet. I need more time with the Greg Vanney system. But the one thing I can say is that I feel a lot more effort this season, and I know that's a very meh thing to say, but like when you look at the Galaxy of the past couple years and what they are now, I mean, they're finding different ways to score than they have over the last couple years. The Galaxy became kind of a meme in terms of, they're just going to send in a bunch of crosses and hope one of them finds the back of the net. But having a creative guy like Victor Vasquez in the middle, which is a player we haven't really had in a while, someone who could create from the middle and not from out wide, we're just seeing a full different attack from the Galaxy. So I guess that is the strength. Obviously, sure. Chicharito has been a strength within himself, but as we've seen with the Zlatan Galaxy, we can't rely on one player to score all the goals.
That's true. And personally, I believe that the biggest strength to this Galaxy team, this new LA Galaxy team, is that they don't fold as easily as some of the previous LA Galaxy teams had, right? They go down a goal or two, and all of a sudden they just mentally check out and they just fall apart completely. Or they're up 1 or 2 goals in the first half and then still fall apart in the second half, right? I don't think we've seen that from this team yet, or so far this season. So I honestly do think that's their biggest strength going into this game, such a big game like the first El Traffico of the season. Gio, what's the LA Galaxy's biggest strength going into this match?
I think there's a couple things that I see from the LA Galaxy just being able to cover them the last couple years. I know people may not agree with me on this because the way he's been getting scored on, but I'd say Jonathan Bonner, goalkeeper. That's one of the biggest strengths. Like the things he does that are intangible, the way he talks to his players. Obviously, 7 goals in 3 games. I don't believe you can put all 7 goals on him. maybe one of those potentially. I mean, if you go down the list, I mean, he's one-on-one with a lot of the goals, and one of it was a PK. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
I would say goalkeeping, because I think that's secured. With the last couple of years, you didn't really feel secured who was our goalkeeper, and I think that's locked down. And they haven't had a solid goalkeeper for years. So I would definitely say
Jaime Penedo.
Yeah,
well, I do think he's the best goalkeeper the Galaxy have had since Jaime Penedo.
Absolutely agree.
I agree with Gio in terms of like those goals were not on him. And quite frankly, had he not been there and had David Bingham started that Sounders match, the Galaxy would have lost 6-0.
Easily.
It could have been pretty bad. I would also say I know people may not like this, but I would say the midfield looks a lot better. Obviously, minus Pavone from last year, but I think there's a lot more creativity that they can play out from the back and get it, not just cross the ball like you were saying, like, hey, let's get it down the flank and cross the ball. There is some creativity, and a lot of that goes to Victor Vasquez. Obviously, they don't all have their pieces yet, right? We're still waiting on Kevin Cabral, the DP, right? And then there's a couple Kubli, the defender. But I would say that this team has depth, but they're still a work in progress and still trying to put the pieces to the puzzle.
For sure. Yeah. I can't say I agree any more than I do with you guys on that. LAFC, let's touch briefly on their strengths. If we can just briefly touch on that. What would you guys say is their number one strength, their biggest strength going into this match?
Gio mentioned it earlier, depth for sure. The best thing about Bob Bradley with LAFC is the fact that he has done a great job at signing players of various skill levels that fit into what he wants to do. And whether you are the DP or the 27th man on the roster, the players at LAFC get fully integrated into the Bob Bradley system. So they could just plug and play anyone and they'll get results. And that's what we've seen over the past couple of weeks without Carlos Vela. So that's definitely their biggest strength. And now having Carlos Vela back, LAFC could be very dangerous in this one.
Sure. Gio?
I would add on to that their counterattack, the explosiveness on their counterattack. We know how the 4-3-3 is a very offensive style of playing, and we know they like to really push up high. But when they're in that counterattack, right, we assume it's going to be Rossi, Vela, and then you had Corey Baird. The counterattack is pretty deadly, man. You can't count that out, and you can't count out where the distribution is. Also, who's starting the counterattack? It's most likely Eduardo Tuesta, and he knows where to put the ball for Rossi and Carlos Vela, whether it's on the ground, over the air, and the distribution on those counterattacks, and I think obviously we don't expect the LA Galaxy to play like they did last week, but if they do, this is going to be as we expect, this can be a very high scoring game for both sides, or it could just be a high scoring game for one side.
Okay. No, it's definitely going to be a high scoring game. There's no way this game ends 0-0. Like, I can feel that, right? I'm sure you guys can feel the same thing.
I don't want it. I would never want this game.
There's no way this is going to be a 0-0 game. So, and watch this game ends up being 0-0, right? And I have to eat my shoe.
Yeah. We're gonna have to play this clip.
But listen, let's talk coaches, okay? We have arguably two of the best American coaches in MLS. I'm not going to say the best because, in my opinion, currently the best is out in New England, right? I'm a huge Bruce Arena fan, but arguably two of the best coaches in North America, Bob Bradley, Greg Vanney. We have to talk about who we think is the better coach here. And in my personal opinion, and frankly, I don't think a lot of people out there will disagree. Maybe you guys will. I think Greg Vanney is the superior coach over Bob. Now, I know Bob has an MLS Cup under his belt, but you have to remember that MLS Cup was back way in the infancy of MLS, 1998 with the Chicago Fire. You had 12 teams in the league at that point. The league, as far as professionalism and the performance of the teams, as compared to now, is amateur at best. You might have had an USL quality team, right? Greg Vanney has most recently won the MLS Cup. Of course, that was 2017 with Toronto FC. It's a much different league now, right? Bob has been with the league for so long. He was with the Metro Stars for ages. He was with Chicago Fire for ages. I think he was with Chivas USA at some point, right? He's still with Chivas USA, but he hasn't been successful in the modern era of MLS like Greg Vanney has. So that's my take. I think Greg Vanney is the superior coach. What do you guys say? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that?
I'll let Gio go first.
Nice. What I would say, look, we also, when you talk about these two coaches, I mean, you're not going to be disappointed if one of these two coaches are your head coach, right? You're getting a solid head coach, one that they both understand the league, one that they've both had success, right? It all depends what you like and how you compare the success that they had, right? Because I don't think if you're an LA Galaxy fan, you're not going to agree with what I got to say on this take. But with Bob Bradley, they haven't won the silverware outside as a supporter shield, but they have progressed every year. If you look at it, last year they went to the CONCACAF Champions League final, but they didn't win it, right? But they didn't win it. I get that, but they progressed. If you compare that to the last season, they progressed. I've seen that progression, but I haven't seen the trophies, right? The biggest knock on Bob Bradley is the trophies, and it's been 4 years, right? So it's kind of hard. I think it also makes what Atlanta United did in their second year to win the MLS Cup that much more special, you know?
Of course.
And,
yeah.
and then the way Bob Bradley's been able to coach these players and, you know, plug and play, get this how he's been able to coach them. It's been very impressive. But the biggest knock on him is right now is going to be the MLS Cup. And I think that question will be answered at the end of this year because a lot of fans want an MLS Cup, and we know it's not an easy MLS Cup. But as the progression has gone, there is a progression there that I can see. I know not that many people are going to agree with that, but I can definitely see it, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down to silverware. Greg Vanney on the other side, right? He has won recently with the Toronto. I was going to say Raptors. I'm thinking about basketball, but with Toronto, right? And but we've also seen 3 games with how he's been able to adjust the game for the LA Galaxy, right? And the biggest thing about Greg Vanney is he owns up to it. Hey, that was my fault. We tried something. It's not going to work. You know, we're probably not going to go with that again, right? I'm paraphrasing his words. Never got that from Guillermo. Never got that from anybody else the last 4 years. And I like that about Greg Vanney, right? And I like how he takes ownership from that. But I think the only thing so far, it's only been 3 games with the LA Galaxy. I know what he's done with Toronto, but I still think I need to see till the end of the season to fully be able to compare. But I feel that they're neck and neck. I wouldn't be upset if I had Greg Vanney as my coach. I wouldn't be upset with Bob Bradley, but they both have different systems. Bob Bradley's a 4-3-3. Greg Vanney is, hey, I'm going to try this. It doesn't work. We're going to adjust.
Well, I'll tell you what, Greg Vanney's got him beat on the hairstyle for sure.
Hands down. The scarf. Hands down. And Bob Bradley doesn't tend to smile as well sometimes. So
yeah, no, that's a Bradley trademark. But Eli, what do you say, brother? Do you agree with Gio, or what do you think? Who's the better coach?
Before I say it, I'm gonna cop out a little bit and compliment both. So with Bob Bradley, I gotta say his system in MLS is probably I shouldn't say this term, but sexiest style of play in MLS. The way they switch sides to sides, the counterattacking, as Gio mentioned, they play the most fun soccer in MLS, and that is great. Bob Bradley has his identity, and that is also very great. My one issue with him as a head coach, and I'm not talking about the lack of success in playoffs because that's obvious, but where I think Greg Vanney is much better is I don't really see Bob Bradley as a coach to make adjustments in the style of play. I view him as more of a stubborn guy. Like, this is how I run things, and this is how we're gonna complete all 90 minutes. And when it works, it's incredible. But when it doesn't work, it's obvious. But Greg Vanney is the opposite in the fact that, like, he is going to make the adjustment. If something isn't working at half, he's going to change it up during that halftime talk. And if it doesn't work the entire match, he'll switch it up next match. So I do got to go with Greg Vanney, just because to me, that 27 Toronto FC team is the best team in MLS history. And sure, their points record was shattered by LAFC in 2019. But in terms of dominance, I just don't think there's a team better than that 27 Toronto team. And I don't think that they had necessarily a better squad on the pitch than 2019 LAFC did. Sure. So I am going to go. Greg Vanney has the slight edge. However, like Gio said, I would not complain if either were my head coach.
One thing I will add too is Greg Vanney and Bob Bradley have not matched up against each other in El Traffico, and it's a different vibe. It's a different energy. These two games, it's a pure chess match, and that's why I'm kind of hard to necessarily make a decision, because I want to see how Greg Vanney matches up with Bob Bradley in this particular game. They're going to have 3 games this year, right? And I want to see how Greg Vanney does those adjustments and how he attacks the second game and how he plans the third game, because I already know what I'm going to get from Bob Bradley, and the difference between Bob Bradley and Greg Vanney is that Greg Vanney's willing to scrap his pen and go with the new one. Bob Bradley's going to stick with the system. Sure. And I just want to see how they duel it out these 3 games this year.
I honestly think that Greg Vanney can outcoach Bob Bradley for the same reason Eli was talking about. He seems like a guy that's just so set on his ways, and this is how I do it. This is how it's going to get done. We talked about this at your place, Gio, as we were watching that Seattle LA game. We were just praising Brian Schmetzer, right? He's a fantastic coach. He's amazing. He's up there, definitely in the top 5. The way that he outcoached Vanney in that game, right? And it just like, he's just amazing at what he does. Brian Schmetzer outcoached Bob Bradley. He's outcoached him several times.
He's outcoached a lot of coaches, not just Bob Bradley. We just saw he did outcoach Greg Vanney. Like, sure. I know a lot of people, you go Bruce Arena, but I think Brian Schmetzer is the best coach in MLS. Bruce Arena's right up there, but to me, the things that Brian Schmetzer has been able to do and how he got Greg Vanney to overthink his plan going into this game, and how he's what he's done to Bob Bradley in the playoff games. By far, I think Brian Schmetzer is the best coach in MLS, and that's coming from a guy that covers both LA teams. But what he's done so far, this is the first game against Greg Vanney. We know Greg Vanney and Brian Schmetzer have dueled it out in the final, right, with MLS Cup final. But the way how chill he is. He has like the dad feeling, and it's like his dad kicks your ass. You know what I'm saying? It's like he got some swagger to him that you don't expect of. And you're like, dude, this dude knows what he's doing. So I feel like Brian Schmetzer, he's the best coach, but I'm very excited to see how Greg Vanney and Bob Bradley match up this Saturday.
Yeah, no, he seems like a great guy. He seems like a fun grandpa. There was a video on the Seattle Sounders social media where he's calling out one of the young academy guys into the middle of the team meeting. And he's like, they're just clowning on his shoes because he's wearing these like loafers. It was just great. I love Brian Schmetzer. I honestly wish at some point he ends up with the LA Galaxy, maybe down the line, but we'll see.
Can't give up on Greg Vanney so that fast.
Hey, I'm not giving up on him yet. He still has to win some cups.
I will say Schmetzer gives me like philosophy professor vibes. The one that's gonna show you.
He's like an evil genius. Like,
yeah, like he's calm.
Analyze, like you don't expect it.
Yeah, like he'll tell you how a piece of broccoli like represents the meaning of life. Like.
Oh God. Okay. I can see that.
Maybe that's a foreshadow to when the Sounders play Austin, but
okay. So listen, we talked about the coaches. We've talked about the strengths, weaknesses, key players. Let's talk about our predictions for this game. Okay. Based off of what we talked about, we can make an educated prediction. Of course, it's soccer. Nothing's written in stone. Anything can change. Anyone can beat anyone. It's MLS, right? This game could be 10-0. It could be an absolute blowout. Gio, what is your prediction for this match, score-wise?
Score-wise, I feel like it's going to be a high-scoring game. I would say 4-3. I'd like it to be a 4-3 game, and that's if Carlos Vela is playing. If Carlos Vela is not playing, then
who scores 4?
I would say Diego Rossi, Carlos Vela, Corey Baird. Maybe, you get a Jose Cifuentes or a random, Latif Blessing goal or something like that.
So your prediction is the LAFC beats the Galaxy 4-3.
I'm leaning more that way if Carlos Vela can play a full 90 minutes because of some of the challenges the LA Galaxy have shown in their back line. And they've given up 7 goals in 3 games.
It's
they've
bad.
given up. Yeah, it's not good, right? And I don't think they're going to be able to clean it up in a week with what's going on, right? Derek Williams is injured. There's a lot of things, Bob. Greg Vanney's been moving Araujo, but if Carlos Vela does not play for whatever reason, say he comes in at halftime, then I prefer the Galaxy because there's not that big of a offensive threat. And I saw how LAFC struggled last week. Diego Rossi still needed to get his legs under him. Corey Baird can't necessarily do it all, right? But if Carlos Vela doesn't play 90 minutes, then I like LA Galaxy winning 3-2.
Okay. And who scores the goals for the Galaxy then?
Obviously, it has to be Chicharito. The biggest
hat trick.
I don't know if it's a hat trick, but Chicharito needs to score score goals in this game. Think about Zlatan. Zlatan did not win a single MLS Cup for the LA Galaxy, right? Mm-hmm. But Zlatan is remembered because of the games he had with LAFC and what he did to LAFC.
Oh, for sure.
Chicharito needs to show up. It's not just show up, but score goals, right? Because if he wants to be remembered, and I feel like he's definitely going to show up, but this is a game where he has to score goals.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. So, Eli, your unbiased, most honest prediction for this game, what's the score at the end of 90 this Saturday?
Just to be a troll, it's going to be 0-0. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, God.
Okay. I think it's time for my little speech.
Already?
LA Galaxy fans.
Okay.
LA Galaxy fans, Angel City Brigade, the Galaxians, LA Riot. This is on your turf. You guys are the 12th man. You guys can be in attendance, and that is going to be beautiful. But this team, this former Chivas USA team, is coming back to the home, and they're coming in we are LA's team. You guys are Carson. You guys cannot sit there and let them stomp on you guys. What's going to happen in this match? We are going to see the resiliency of Greg Vanney at his peak. I'm going to say at halftime, the LA Galaxy will be down 2-1 because Carlos Vela is going to score a brace like he did in that first ever El Traffico match. However, because LAFC is up 2-1, they're going to feel a little comfortable. They're going to feel like what they're doing is working, and they're going to expect to come out in the second half and get a quick goal. And then that'll be a GG because, they're used to the Galaxy not being very resilient, except for that first match, which it was a different exception. However, Greg Vanney is a cheeky bastard sometimes.
Don't compare him to your girlfriend, Eli.
Oh, man. I think we're going to see some sort of halftime sub. Whether it's Ethan Zubak coming in, maybe it's an Efra coming in. Whoever's starting. I really don't know the starting lineup because it has been different every time. But the Galaxy are going to get one back, and it's going to be 2-2. And then in the 85th minute,
oh boy,
Samuel Grandsir is going to put Marco Farfan on skates on the left flank. He's going to dribble by him. He's going to send in a lob that goes over Ethan Zubak's head as he tries to head it in. And guess who's there at the far post to just do a little tap in? Chicharito. LA Galaxy will take this one 3-2 as they have done in the first 2 matches of the season. Trends continue, and the LA Galaxy will prove that they are still the better team in the rivalry.
I like it.
Chicharito
does have to have the game winner. That's the only way he's going to be remembered. He's been great, but this is the game. This is the game where fans are going to remember him.
For a second there, I thought Eli was about to say that the game-winning goal was going to be scored by Daniel Steres.
Dude, it would happen. It would happen.
Dude, you just never know, right?
Corner
It
kick
could
header, boom. Like I'm waiting for that. That might be the first goal, but the last goal is Chicharitos.
Oh boy. Hey man, that got me hyped, dude. If I wasn't hyped before, I'm extra hyped now. So man, just for giggles though, the score line, dude, we know it's definitely not gonna be a 0-0 thing. Personally, I agree. It's gonna be a high scoring game. My personal prediction is we're gonna see this game go. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of goals being scored here, guys. I think it might be like 5-4, 5-3, so hopefully it's the Galaxy scoring the 5 goals. But it's definitely going to be the game everyone's going to be talking about at the end of this week number 4 in MLS. On the same note, I want to hear all the Galaxy fans' reactions to this as well. If you're watching right now, as you're watching this video, I want to hear those score predictions in the comment section below. I'll listen to everyone. So let's see them. Let's hear them. Now, before we call this a show, anything else you guys want to add about the upcoming game, Eli, Gio?
No, I'm just very, very pumped. And it's so funny because Seattle-Portland is this weekend as well, which is considered by many the biggest rivalry in MLS. But whether you're a Galaxy fan or an LAFC fan, show out, make sure your voice is heard and that people know this is the biggest derby in MLS by far.
Yeah, no, I would say this is the biggest. I know Seattle can hold more and stuff, but I think just the way how you have the whole city of LA just buzzing, unfortunately we won't be like 100% capacity. I know today or tomorrow LA is going to go to 67%, but LA Galaxy, they're not going to open up any more seats. Yeah. But I think, the only thing that I feel like it is somewhat unfortunate is, which LA Galaxy fans don't care about this, but no LAFC, they don't have LAFC supporters, right? And I feel like what's amazing about sports is that the other team is there and you can talk smack to them, right? Yeah. Whether you want them or not. But I think that's the only thing that you'll miss from this game when you have fans. They're not going to be those LAFC supporters because say they score a goal or they get scored on or whatever, you can banter with them while you're at the game. So I don't know how many LAFC fans will really be at this game.
Well, hey, listen, Gio, we might not have that in the stadium this Saturday, right? But we're definitely having some fan banter tomorrow
on my show. Yeah. Yeah, you're going up. You've already started. You and Defenders of the Bank, so hey, it's gonna be excited. I'm excited for that one.
I honestly hope the guy doesn't have kids and a wife because it's gonna be really rough.
Yeah, Eli, you're gonna have to tune in. It's at 7 p.m. tomorrow. But Chris is going up first against. I try to pair them up as evenly. I got also Total Galaxy. I was going to pair him up with another LAFC media outlet, but he bailed like last minute. So I try to make it as even as possible. And I got 2 girls as well too. So it's like they're going to go 15 minutes each. And Eli, if you want to tune in, we can I'll have you next week or next time. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, that's what I feel like. What is so special about this rivalry is the fans, right? We know what's going to be on the field, but like, one thing I will say, once LAFC came into the MLS atmosphere, LA Galaxy atmosphere, the city of LA or Southern California, like it really made LA Galaxy fans be like, oh, let me represent my team. Let me show pride in my team a little bit more. At least that's just, not that they weren't before, but like you didn't really have a competition.
It's a cultural thing now.
Yeah, it's a culture thing. Like now you really know who's down for Galaxy, right? Now you know who, hey, this is on my side. I'm gonna wear a hat. Or I'm with LAFC. That's the difference that I've seen with this rivalry and and I don't think I saw that before because Galaxy didn't have competition, but I think that's what I love about this rivalry.
Eli's got something on his mind.
I just have to end it with something here that I forgot to mention in my speech, but it's highly crucial. Are you ready?
Ready.
LA Galaxy fans, there's one thing I have to say as the Galaxy face off against LAFC at Dignity Health Sports Park. You guys ready?
Let's hear it.
This is LA. Our city, our home. Los Angeles. We never walk alone. forever true. We'll stay in tribute to our city, no matter where we go. This is our home. Thank you.
Hey, there you go,
There you
man.
go.
Listen, I'll be at the game on Saturday. I look forward to hearing that song live, blasting through the sound system. Gio, I hope to see you there too at the game, brother. Eli, I know you're not in LA yet, but you're on your way soon, so we'll all have to get together and maybe watch a game or something. But I think that about does it, guys. We covered it pretty well, I would say. I got some score predictions in there, some hot takes. All right, folks, you heard it here from the MLS experts themselves. This is what we're expecting for this game. Let's pray to Cosmo or whatever deity you worship out there that it turns out well. Hopefully the LA Galaxy takes 3 points at home. Eli, why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find you, brother? Where can people find you?
Follow me at This Week in MLS on Instagram and Twitter, as well as on YouTube. I am on YouTube now. And stay tuned. I have some very fun stuff coming up in the next week or so. And also make sure you subscribe to the Galaxy guy because he's amazing. And also follow LASoccerHub on Instagram, of course.
Right on, man. Hey, dude, listen, Eli, quickly, dude, while I still have you. You're everywhere, brother. Like, I don't know how you do it. You're doing your show. You're doing guest appearances you're doing player interviews, and you're a full-time student at Syracuse. It's like, how the heck do you do it, brother? The work ethic there, man. It's unreal. It's the grind. Unreal.
I gotta make my dreams happen somehow. And honestly, I learned a lot of that from Gio when I worked under him for a summer. I saw how hard he worked, and it definitely gave me the kick in the butt that I needed to get grinding for sure.
Now, Gio's great, man. But listen, it's good that I can still get in touch with you, Eli, and I'm still able to get to you directly. I feel like pretty soon, in a couple of months or maybe in less than a year, I'll have to call your secretary and leave a message or something, to get through to you, man, because you're definitely on the right track, brother. Gio, appreciate you being on the show, brother. Why don't you go ahead and tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, you get out, guys. You can check me out at LASoccerHub. We're having the banter show tomorrow. Chris is going to be on it. It's meant for the fans. It's not going to be any analyst things. It's just straight banter between the two fans. You guys also follow me on Twitter at Gio Garcia LA. We're doing weekly podcasts. We obviously talk LA Galaxy and LAFC, and Chris has been on our show. We'll definitely have to get Eli on there, so you guys can follow us there.
That's right. Alrighty then, folks. So from me, your host, Chris Maldonado, from the Galaxy Guy podcast, for my amazing guests, Eli Lesser, a.k.a. Eli the Great, and Gio Garcia, Mr. LASoccerHub himself, we want to thank you for tuning in. It's going to be an exciting weekend of soccer, rivalry week, first El Traffico of the season. We'll see you guys real soon. Have yourselves a good week. Bye-bye.